Hey everybody, Jeff Yenser at the Garden of Paradise, otherwise known as the Garden of Ridvan. Paradise is the translation of that. Today we're going to talk about propagating, taking a plant and making more plants out of it. This is a great process. We got this beautiful red hibiscus here. Look at all these beautiful red flowers, and we can make exact clones of this very plant. So we know we're going to get red hibiscus, right? So we're going to talk about how to propagate and make more plants out of this one. And what I want to do is I want to take some cuttings and I want to find some, first of all, that look healthy and that don't have flowers or buds on them. Now the thing about this plant right now, it has a lot of flowers and buds on almost every branch. So I'm going to try my best to find some that don't have flowers or buds. Here's one. So you can see I've taken a cutting that's probably a little bit longer than I need it. We got some tender young growth right there, and we got some woody growth right there. So I'm going to take that one. I'm going to take this one. Now, this one's got some flower buds on it. Like I said, there's not many branches on this plant that don't have flowers or buds, so I'm just going to pull those off. Okay, so we got a few cuttings there. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a couple more cuttings from here. Okay, we're good. Let's go in the greenhouse and see how this is done. Okay, so here we are in the greenhouse. We got our cuttings, and this is a beautiful looking one. Again, taking something that looks healthy, and I'm going to go ahead and pinch off any flower buds to begin with, and then I'm going to take my clippers and I'm going to clip off most of the leaves. Some of them I can just pull off with my fingers, right? Get these off. Any little stems or leaves I'm going to pull off of there, and I'm going to get down to where I've got 2 or 3 leaves left at the top, and if the leaves are of any size, I'm going to rip them in half. Okay, and I'm going to take this, cut it down to maybe about that long, 6 to 8 inches. I got my pot of soil here. I want to be able to stick this down and have it be mostly covered by the soil. That's my goal. Right, so there's another leaf to come off. Now the idea here is to get this to grow roots. Okay, the plant sucks up water and nutrients from the bottom, and the sun hits the top, right, and it produces chlorophyll, which feeds the energy down. So we get a two-way street, right? But right now we have no roots, right? So that makes it very challenging for the plant to suck up moisture. That's why we cut off so many leaves. Right, because the leaves will evaporate moisture. Moisture is going to leave the plant through the leaves, right? And it will die if we leave too many leaves up here. They'll just turn yellow and die, right? So we minimize the leaves, right? And I'm going to take the bottom of it, and I'm just going to scrape a little bit off to expose it, to help it to grow roots. And then we have this rooting hormone. And I'm just going to dip it in there. So you got a little white powder, don't need much. And then I'm going to stick it down into the soil. Okay, and there you can see it, right? About 80% of the plant is down in the soil, and only a little bit is sticking up at the top. That's going to give it maximum chance to put out roots. Now you notice this soil is very damp right now. And that's what we want. We want a lot of moisture in this, okay, so that it has the best opportunity to suck up moisture from within. Now, there's different mixes of different combinations of things that people use when they do propagation, right? There's a whole variety of ways that you can do this. We happen to have some really excellent soil out here, which has a lot of compost in it. Now, I also have added some organic liquid fertilizer to it and blended it into this ahead of time, right? So it's got a little extra fertilizer in there to give it a boost, right? Depending on what kind of soil or potting mix you're working with. Some potting mixes come already fertilized with the nutrients in there. Just depends on what you got to work with. But we happen to have the blessing of this wonderful soil. You can see how dark and rich it is there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep on going and pulling off these leaves, right? Pull off most of the leaves, right? There's a little bud, take that out. There's another one, and these two big leaves, I'm going to rip them in half. I'm going to kind of see how deep my pot is going to be. I'm going to trim, and see, there used to be a leaf right there. I'm going to trim right below that, because maybe it'll sprout a root right there where the leaf used to be. Okay, dip it in the rooting hormone and push it down into the soil. I could have made that one maybe a little bit shorter. Okay, now here's a piece of a branch that I had cut off earlier, right? And it's not that big, but there's no harm done since it's right here in putting that in there. So I'm going to trim that down, right, in the rooting hormone, and I'm going to poke that in there. Let me do a couple more here real quick. Now I've got a few plants in the bucket. Maybe I could fit one or two more in there, but I think this is good enough for today. And I can just keep producing these, so I could be here all day and just produce a whole bunch of new red hibiscus plants. And the last step, if you want to follow me this way, we're going to put this into the shade. So I'm going to put it under this table. You can see all the other propagations that we've been doing underneath here. We got a bunch going on. The key is to keep it in the shade and to keep it very damp. Now if you look up here, you'll see a sprinkler system. We're blessed to have this sprinkler system, which is on a timer, which is going to keep this consistently moist. So that's the last step, the last tip, is to keep this as moist and damp as possible at all times. Now some people put a plastic bag over the top, which I don't think is necessary here, because we have this sprinkler system and it's kept watered a couple of times a day to keep it consistently moist. And again, we have it in the shade, so the sun is not going to beat down on it and evaporate all the moisture out from the leaves. Jeff Yenser, Garden of Paradise, also known as the Garden of Ridvan. Thanks for watching today.